One army, one leader, too many purges, how China's quest for military loyalty became a leadership crisis. For a country that prides itself on long-term planning, China's armed forces are behaving as though the future has become uncomfortably unpredictable. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, the world's largest military, and the most consequential, has spent much of the past decade in a state of permanent political correction. Generals have risen swiftly and fallen abruptly. Defense ministers have disappeared with bureaucratic efficiency. Entire command structures have been dismantled, rebuilt, and then hollowed out again. At the center of it all stands Xi Jinping, China's most powerful leader since Mao. When Xi assumed power in 2012, he faced a divided, wealthy, and untrustworthy army. He set out to fix it. More than 10 years later, the question is no longer whether the PLA is loyal. It is whether it is governable. The latest shock, investigations into General Zhang Youxia, vice-chairman of the Central Military Commission, CMC, and Liu Zhenli, the Commission's chief of joint staff, has pushed that question to the fore. Zhang was not merely senior, he was foundational. A revolutionary pedigree, battlefield experience, and long-standing ties to Xi had placed him among the last of the untouchables. His removal signals that even proximity to the apex now offers no protection. In purging those closest to him, Xi has demonstrated supreme authority. He has also exposed a deeper vulnerability, a military leadership increasingly defined not by continuity, but by absence, the original fear. To understand how China arrived here, one must begin with fear, specifically, Xi's fear of history. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has never forgotten that the Soviet Union collapsed not because it lost a war, but because its institutions rotted from within. The Red Army did not save the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, it stood aside. When Xi rose to the top, he encountered unsettling parallels. The PLA had grown rich during China's economic boom, acquiring businesses, real estate, and influence. Promotions were widely believed to be transactional. Loyalty was fragmented, often personal rather than institutional. Certain officers responded more quickly to patrons than to the party headquarters. For a leader determined to centralize power, this was intolerable. Xi's solution was to make the PLA an extension of himself, politically purified, ideologically drilled, and structurally reorganized to ensure that no rival power base could emerge. The slogan "The party commands the gun" was revived not as rhetoric, but as doctrine, corruption as instrument. The anti-corruption campaign provided the perfect tool. Corruption, after all, was real. Senior officers had sold promotions, skimmed procurement budgets, and exploited opaque logistics systems. Early purges were greeted with approval both at home and abroad. Western analysts argued that corruption undermined readiness, removing it would make the PLA more capable. This view missed the point. For Xi, corruption was less a disease than a diagnostic. It identified who could be removed, reshuffled, or neutralized with minimal resistance. Financial crimes were easy to allege, difficult to disprove, and politically safe to publicize. Over time, however, the accusations changed in tone. Official language began to emphasize political discipline, disloyalty, and betrayal of trust. The campaign evolved from a cleanup into a loyalty audit. That evolution reached its logical conclusion with Zhang Youxia. The fall of a survivor, Zhang's career embodied the qualities Xi was supposed to value. He had fought in the 1979 war with Vietnam, one of the few PLA generals who could claim combat experience. His father was a revolutionary hero. He had survived earlier purge waves that consumed rivals and peers alike. Most importantly, Zhang was believed to enjoy Xi's confidence. As vice-chairman of the CMC, he stood at the pinnacle of military power beneath Xi himself. His role in overseeing weapons development and modernization made him indispensable, or so it seemed, when the official PLA media accused Zhang and Liu Zhenli of having seriously betrayed the trust and expectations of the party and the CMC. The phrasing was unmistakable. This was not about bribes or misallocated funds. It was about authority. The suggestion that Zhang may have leaked sensitive nuclear information to the United States, reported by the Wall Street Journal but unverified, matters less for its truth than for its plausibility. In today's China, the most serious crime is not corruption, but uncertainty about loyalty. A commission in ruins, the consequences of the purge are most visible at the top. Of the 7 officials appointed to the CMC in 2022, only 2 remain, Xi himself and Jiang Xingmin, the commission's anti-graft chief. 2 defense ministers have been removed. 9 senior commanders were purged in October alone. Dozens more have vanished quietly. This level of turnover would be alarming in any institution. In a military preparing for high-end conflict, it is destabilizing. Command relationships take years to mature. Joint operations, especially those involving air, naval, missile and cyber force, require trust, shared experience, and institutional memory. Purges erase all 3, yet the PLA is expected to prepare for its most complex mission yet, the potential use of force against Taiwan, and the problem of timing. Taiwan looms over every discussion of PLA readiness. For Xi, reunification is not merely a policy goal, it is a historical mission. The PLA's modernization has been driven by scenarios involving blockades, amphibious assaults, and coercive pressure against the island. Such operations are unforgiving. They require seamless coordination across services, rapid decision-making, and commanders empowered to adapt under pressure. They are precisely the kind of operations least compatible with a climate of political anxiety. As Brian Hart of the Center for Strategic and International Studies has noted, the pool of experienced commanders is shrinking. Promotions increasingly reward ideological reliability over operational distinction. Initiative becomes risky, failure becomes fatal. In such an environment, caution flourishes, loyalty versus learning. She appears willing to accept this trade-off. Official PLA commentary insists that fighting corruption strengthens combat capability. Discipline, it argues, is the foundation of effectiveness. History offers less reassurance. Stalin's purges of the Red Army eliminated potential rivals but crippled military competence on the eve of the Second World War. Mao's Cultural Revolution paralyzed command structures until pragmatism reasserted itself. She believes he has learned from both. Unlike Mao, he has preserved professionalism. Unlike Stalin, he has paired purges with modernization. Yet the logic of fear remains the same. An officer who fears political missteps more than battlefield failure will prioritize survival over success. Exercises at the theater. Externally, China seeks to project confidence. Each major purge wave has been followed by conspicuous military exercises, particularly around Taiwan. These maneuvers serve as reassurance to domestic audiences and deterrence to foreign ones, but exercise can conceal as much as they reveal. They are scripted, controlled, and politically curated. War is none of these things. As Lyle Morris of the Asia Society has observed, an uptick in exercises may mask internal disarray. The more unstable the leadership, the greater the incentive to demonstrate strength. Foreign observers face a paradox. Increased PLA activity may reflect weakness, not readiness, the black box problem. China's opacity compounds the challenge. The PLA has always been secretive. Under Xi, it has become hermetic. Information flows upward cautiously, filtered through layers of political sensitivity. This creates a classic principal-agent problem. Xi demands loyalty and competence. Subordinates deliver loyalty theatrically and competently selectively. Sad news is delayed or softened. Strategic assessments become optimistic by default. In peacetime, this is manageable. In a crisis, it is dangerous. Xi's structural trap. Xi now confronts a dilemma of his own making. He has removed so many senior officers that rebuilding the leadership risks further instability. Promote too quickly, and experience suffers. Promote too cautiously, and paralysis deepens. One option is structural overhaul, concentrating authority even more tightly around the CMC chairman, that is, Xi himself. Another is to create parallel chains of oversight, ensuring political compliance at every level. Both approaches reduce autonomy. Both increase Xi's workload. Neither guarantees effectiveness. An army that cannot speak, the greatest cost of the purge is silence. A healthy military argues internally. It debates doctrine, challenges assumptions, and surfaces uncomfortable truths. The PLA increasingly does not. Officers learn that disagreement can be misinterpreted. Strategic caution becomes political virtue. Innovation yields to orthodoxy. This may produce an army that obeys flawlessly. It may also produce one that surprises its own leader at the worst possible moment. Conclusion: power without trust. Xi Jinping has achieved what few leaders in modern history have managed: absolute control over the world's largest military. Yet control is different from confidence, and authority is different from effectiveness. In seeking to eliminate every potential challenge, Xi has created a force that looks formidable but feels brittle. Leadership churn, institutional anxiety, and strategic opacity are the hidden costs of rule by purge. The PLA may yet fight well. It may even fight soon. But the deeper question is whether it can think clearly, adapt quickly, and speak honestly when it matters most. History suggests that armies bound too tightly to one man often inherit his blind spots. For China, and for the world, that may prove the most serious vulnerability of all.